And good morning and Happy New Year. I'm Stephen Romo in for Joe and Savannah today. And we start this hour with that developing story out of Japan, where a series of earthquakes in the Sea of Japan, have shaken the central part of the country. It's caused widespread damage and triggered a tsunami warning along its west coast. NBC News foreign correspondent Megan Fitzgerald joins us now with the latest on this. Megan, good morning to you. So what can you tell us about these quakes and the damage that they may have caused?
Stephen, good morning. First, Japanese officials have just downgraded from a major tsunami warning to a tsunami warning for the region near the epicenter. Now, preliminary reports are that a 7.6 magnitude earthquake hit off the central west coast of Japan near the Ishikawa province, which is about 140 miles east of Tokyo. This earthquake was felt on land across the region, even as far as Tokyo. We are seeing video coming in, capturing the moments that this quake hit. You can see waves coming on land, large signs inside a train station shaking, people running for safety, store shelves rattling. We also know that homes have collapsed. Others have been damaged. Local officials confirm that people have been injured by fallen debris and have been taken to the hospitals. At least 6 people so far reportedly trapped beneath fallen rubble inside homes. Now, while we did mention, of course, that we have seen a downgrade in the severity of the tsunami warning, meteorologists have measured the highest wave so far at around 4 feet high, and they say that they could see waves exceeding 16 feet, Stephen.
Wow, that is concerning indeed. Along with those collapsed homes you mentioned, we know that more than 31,000 are without power, and that is as temperatures drop into the 30s. What are officials doing to help the residents?
Right. So officials have already started setting up shelters in the area. We know of 2 that have gone up so far with warm blankets and supplies for those who are in need. At this point, though, there's still no way to tell just how full those shelters will get and how quickly they could fill up, Stephen.
And anytime there's a tsunami warning, I can't help but think of the Fukushima disaster back in 2011, where that tsunami caused a nuclear meltdown. Do we have any updates about the nuclear facilities in that area?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And right now, government officials say that nuclear plants in the area have not seen any irregularities, but you can bet that they will absolutely be paying close attention to those.
And this area seeing an uptick overall in seismic activity, what is the level of concern about more quakes that could be on the way?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of concerns here for aftershocks, not only for today, but over the coming days as well. And you can bet that they will be monitoring those nuclear plants closely because, as you mentioned, 2011, a 9.0 magnitude quake off the coast of northeastern Japan. It caused this tsunami, resulting in a massive wave crashing into the Fukushima nuclear plant. That then knocked out power to a cooling system. A hydrogen explosion occurred the next day, which then resulted in radiation going into the air. So it's important, of course, to reiterate that at this point, nuclear plants in the Ishikawa province have not seen irregularities, but officials are keenly aware of just how serious this situation is on many fronts, Stephen.
Yeah, serious indeed. All right, Megan Fitzgerald, thanks for that update. And now to our other big story this morning. Millions of Americans making their way back home after the holidays. AAA says more than 150 million people traveled more than 50 miles from home over the 10-day period between Christmas and the New Year. NBC News correspondent Antonia Hilton is at LaGuardia Airport in New York City with more on this. Good morning to you, Antonia. So what's it like out there right now?
Hey, Stephen, Happy New Year. It is pretty relaxed right now. People are making their way to counters and through security very smoothly here at LaGuardia. We're not seeing the long lines yet that we saw heading into Christmas and that some people anticipate may happen here in New York and elsewhere in the coming hours or throughout even maybe tomorrow as people still make their way out of their celebrations and back into their regular routines. As you mentioned, AAA has estimated that not only that there's 115 million travelers leaving 50 miles or so from home, but also that this is the second busiest year-end travel year in more than 20 years, since 2000, when they first started tracking all of this. And at times over the last several days, travel records have reached near or even exceeded near pre-pandemic levels. And so we had seen these long lines, at times delays in airports. There are very few delays, although some of them here in the New York area, out of Miami, places like Denver. And so, certainly, although it's pretty calm right now, if you have a flight today, play it smart, try to get to the airport early, and, expect some kinds of disruptions. That's always possible on the first couple days of the year, Stephen.
So airports not looking too bad. Do we know other forms of travel, trains, Amtrak, were they having delays?
Yes. So yesterday, Amtrak was a little bit of a mess in the Northeast. According to officials there was a server problem that caused hours-long delays, but they say that that's now been resolved, and trains were up and running back on their regular schedules as of the afternoon and evening last night. So the hope is today things get off without a hitch, but the same sort of advice applies even if you're taking Amtrak buses or driving and hitting the roads very soon. You want to try to leave ideally in some of the early morning hours or after 7 p.m. It's those periods when people are commuting, even on a day like today, many people are still working, and those sort of middle of the day, sort of lunchtime periods that can be challenging. So try to leave early in the morning or try to leave in the evening after everyone else has made their way home.
Yeah, good advice there. Do we know anything about what travelers can do themselves to try to make things go more smoothly? It is a holiday, so some people might be caught off guard.
That's right. I mean, we say this every single year at this time of the year, that the best thing you can do is arrive early, especially if you have to check a bag. We have seen at some airports, places like Atlanta, where some of our colleagues were just the other day, there are some long lines at times just to do something simple like check your bag and start walking toward your gate. And so adding in maybe at least an extra hour of time, more than you think you might need to get where you need to go, that can make all the difference here. But also to have a backup plan so that if something goes wrong and you have a place you need to be, to know what your other route, what the driving route might look like for you to get to your destination. Especially if you're traveling with kids and you're in a group, in your family, have a backup plan, have food, know where you're going to stop and get rest and snacks along the way. All of those things make a busy period where we know that on the roads and in the skies, things can be delayed up to 20% or so. Have a plan and get where you're trying to go early, Stephen.
That is such a good point, especially about food. You cannot go wrong with snacks. They always make the situation better, not worse. And Tony, thanks so much for that.
That's right.
All right, now let's get a check of your Morning News Now forecast for those travel plans with meteorologist Michelle Grossman. Hey, Michelle.
Hey there, Stephen. Great to see you. Happy New Year. And we are looking really, really quiet on this new year. Travel-wise, weather-wise, it's going to be good. Tomorrow kind of ramps up a little bit, and then as we get towards midweek, we're going to be much busier. But this is what today looks like. Lots of sunshine across the nation, from the northwest to the southwest, the south central states, lots of sunshine as well. The northern plains, we're going to be above normal in terms of temperatures with lots of sunshine. The upper Midwest looking good as well. Could see a few showers along the Gulf Coast. We have a front that's sort of draped over the area. It's going to pull off moisture from the Gulf, and we're going to see some thunderstorms as well. So that's right along the central Gulf. And then as we head towards portions of the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, we're seeing some snow. We're seeing snow also in the Appalachians. That's where we're going to see the highest amount before it kind of winds down tomorrow in the Appalachians. We could see 1, 2, 3 inches of snow. And then it's going to move off to the east, and we're going to see some rain showers into the mid-Atlantic, not amounting to much, but still you're going to need the windshield wipers as you're out and about. New England looking good. We're looking at temperatures chilly right around the freezing mark, but we're looking at sunshine. And then it translates to a really nice travel map weather-wise. We're looking at green all across the board here. That's what's expected for today. With the exception of the Appalachians, we're going to see some tricky roads, some slick roads with the snow in place, and that's mainly in the highest mountains of Virginia and also West Virginia. But Chicago looking good, Dallas looking good, the major hubs along the East Coast, Boston, New York City, D.C. looking really good as well. Things start to change. Not on the East Coast tomorrow, still looking good in Chicago if you're traveling on any of these roadways. But the south central states, we're going to see rain working into portions of Texas, into parts of Louisiana as well. That's going to slow you down in Houston. And then on the West Coast, we have another storm system that's moving onshore. We just keep seeing storm system after storm system moving onshore. We're going to see another one tomorrow. So Seattle, San Francisco, we could slow it down in the air, also on the roadways along I-5 with heavy rain and also some wind. And then as we look at satellite radar, really quiet this morning. So if you're out and about, we're just looking at little showers off the coast of the southwest of California. We're looking at those showers that I mentioned in parts of the Gulf. You can see that heavy rain where you see those darker colors, but not a whole lot. Then we're looking at blue in portions of the Ohio Valley, also the Appalachians. That's where we're seeing the heaviest snow falling, and we'll see some rain into the mid-Atlantic. It's a clipper-like system, so it doesn't have a whole lot of moisture. It's moving relatively quickly, and it's going to continue to do that. But notice this blue right here. That's going to stay in place not only today, but also tomorrow. That's why we might see 1, 2, 3 inches of snow in some spots. It clears out tomorrow, especially by the afternoon. We're left over with some breezy conditions, and it's going to be chilly, too, chillier than where we have been. The highest amounts of snow is in the darker blue, so we're looking at those mountains of West Virginia, Virginia, where we could see locally up to 4 inches of snow. Then as we near Wednesday, we're a little bit busier, but still not too bad. Gulf Coast rain, some could be heavy right along the Gulf. We have some light snow once again into the Great Lakes, interior portions of the Northeast, and then another strong storm moves on shore in the west. We're looking at high elevation snow into the Intermountain West as well. Also some rain from the Pacific Northwest all the way down to Southern California. And Friday is going to be a wet day for many of us, staying really active in the west into the Intermountain West. Really heavy rain once again, heavy snow in the highest elevations, and then look towards the upper Midwest, the upper Great Lakes, into the south central states. We're looking at rain and snow, a lot of rain along the Gulf Coast, and that's going to kind of creep into the lower Mississippi Valley. Really seasonal on the East Coast. We could see some Great Lakes snow, but we're going to be dry on Friday in the East Coast. And then we have this temperature divide, really warm in the northern plains, 17 degrees above normal, which is weird because it's 39. You feel like it should say 70 at that point.
Yeah.
But that's warm for that area, and then cooler in the south central states.
I bet they'll take it. Although I did hear that people ice fishing in that area, they do not like this.
Right.
They want that ice.
Yeah, because they want their every month of the winter. That's true.
Somebody's always disappointed with something. Michelle Grossman, thanks so much.
Sure.
All right, turning now to that major escalation we're seeing in the Middle East. That's where the U.S. Navy says it retaliated against attackers from Yemen in the Red Sea after they fired on Navy helicopters. The U.S. Defense Department says the choppers sank 3 of 4 boats operated by Iranian-backed Houthi rebels out of Yemen that killed all the crew members on board. For more on this, we're joined by NBC News correspondent Jay Gray in Tel Aviv with more on this. Jay, this is the first lethal action the U.S. military has taken in those waters since the Israel-Hamas war started. What can you tell us about how that went down, and what are we hearing from both sides?
Yeah, and Stephen, this all started with a distress call from a container ship in the Red Sea. The U.S. Navy choppers responding to that SOS call when they say they were fired on by the Iran-backed Houthi rebels and returned that fire, sinking 3 of their ships, as you said, and killing all of the personnel on board those ships. Navy officials are saying that this is certainly something they weren't looking for, that this was an attack that was brought on them as they reached out to help this container ship that was working its way through. It's got to be a flashpoint in everything that's going on. You know, the U.S. troops have seen back and forth skirmishes really escalate over the last month or so, not only in the Red Sea, but in Lebanon and Syria as well. And so that's something they're definitely dealing with. The Houthis, on their part, are saying they promise to retaliate against, and I'm quoting here, any country engaging in dangerous American behavior. So a lot of tension right now in that region.
And Jay, over the weekend, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told reporters the war is, quote, at its height, and that it will go on for many more months, as we've heard also in recent weeks.
Yeah.
And this comes as he's facing more pressure for a ceasefire in Gaza. As we enter the new year, where do things stand for Israel's goal? They've said that they wanted to totally eliminate Hamas.
Look, we've seen a real increase in fighting, both on the ground and from airstrikes in the Han Yunis area. And that's where the IDF believes a lot of the Hamas leaders are holed up, where they are, as they say, hiding. So they've really focused on that area. And you're right. Globally, the pressure is mounting for some type of pause, some type of ceasefire. What Israel has said is that they've destroyed a lot of Hamas's command and control centers, exposed a lot of the tunnels and areas where they have been working underground, but haven't at least told us or anyone that they've found a lot of the leaders. And so that's something they say they're going to continue to press on. And they've said repeatedly they are not going to back down. I would imagine that that's going to be a high topic of conversation with Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who's expected to be here in Tel Aviv sometime this week.
Meanwhile, the United Nations Agency for Palestinians saying that there's at least 40% of the population in Gaza right now at risk of famine. And that's more than 750,000 people. Hard to fathom those numbers. Grim situation there. But I understand we did hear some rare hopeful news on that front over the weekend. What was that?
Yeah, Stephen, Israel has said that they are prepared now to allow ships carrying aid to come over and go to the Gaza border. There's been a military blockade by Israel on Gaza since 2007. They've said that they will allow aid ships to come to the coast of Gaza and deliver food, water, medicine, things that are desperately needed. The hope is that with these ships, they can offload a lot more of those supplies. It's dispersing them into Gaza that may present a bit of a problem, but they are very pleased with the idea that the Israeli Navy is going to allow these ships in. In fact, Britain, France, Greece, the Netherlands all say that they are prepared right now to send ships over and bring some of this aid. And the director, or Israel's foreign minister, rather, says that this can begin immediately. So we're looking to see when those ships may make it to the shorelines of Gaza.
Certainly much needed as we look at video of that dire situation. Yeah. Jay Gray reporting for us from Tel Aviv. Jay, thanks so much. We're just 2 weeks away now from the Iowa caucus, and former President Donald Trump is still holding a commanding lead in the Republican primary. Recent polling has Trump at 62%, followed by Ron DeSantis at just over 11%, and Nikki Haley at 11%. Vivek Ramaswamy trails at 4%. The three candidates have faced the difficult task of trying to block Trump from the White House without alienating his supporters. And unless the courts uphold recent efforts to remove Trump from the primary ballots in some states, 2024 could look like a repeat matchup between Trump and President Biden. For more on this, let's bring in our 2024 political campaign embed, Sarah Dean. Sarah, good morning to you. So let's start with the ongoing effort to disqualify Trump from some state primary ballots. Has this had any impact on the way his campaign is operating ahead of the Iowa caucus?
Good morning, Steve. Happy 2024, officially in the year of the election. As you mentioned, the Colorado Supreme Court and the Maine Secretary of State have both ruled Trump ineligible to be on their state primary ballots, and it's all due to Section 3 of the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, which says that people that have taken an oath to the Constitution and then violated that by engaging in an insurrection, this time they're referring to January 6th, should be ineligible to hold office again. As far as Trump's campaign, his campaign is appealing the decisions, but it hasn't affected it much so far except to galvanize his supporters. Much like many of the indictments we've seen over the past year, his supporters have been galvanized, and Donald Trump has been fundraising off of these decisions, attempting to parlay them as partisan decisions and an attack on him just to prevent him from becoming president again. And as far as the pace of his campaign, it's not slowing down, even though he's only held about a fraction of the events that many of his counterparts have in Iowa. Over the next 2 weeks, either himself, Donald Trump, or one of his campaign surrogates will be holding events almost every single day between now until January 15th in the Iowa caucus. So they're not slowing down.
No, not slowing down. It will be interesting to see this year how Trump can balance the court dates along with those campaign events. But I also wanted to ask about Ron DeSantis and Vivek Ramaswamy. They've gone all in on Iowa. What are they saying about this effort to get Trump off the ballot in some states? That would really help them if he was off the ballot.
Yeah, they've certainly gone all in on Iowa. Both of them have completed what is known as the full Grassley, which is named after Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley, and is where they have visited all 99 counties in Iowa. But both of them have actually condemned this decision. Like you said, it would help them if he was off the ballot, but they've condemned this decision. They've, much like Donald Trump, have said that it is a partisan decision, that this should be in the hands of voters. And Vivek Ramaswamy has gone by far the farthest in the field. He has actually vowed to take himself off of any state primary ballot where Trump is barred. He's actually called on the rest of the field to do so as well, but none of them have taken that pledge yet, Steve. But yes, he has vowed that if these decisions stand, he will take himself off those ballots.
It'll be interesting to see. Less than 2 weeks away now, around 2 weeks until the Iowa caucus.
2 weeks.
All right, Sarah Dean, thanks so much. Well, it's been almost a year since Senator John Fetterman checked himself into Walter Reed National Medical Center to receive treatment for clinical depression. Meet the Press moderator Kristen Welker spoke to the senator about his recovery since that happened.
Hello there, Stephen. This week on a special edition of Meet the Press on mental health, I spoke with Democratic Senator John Fetterman. Here's what he had to say about his battle with depression and his road to recovery. Were there ever moments when you were there seeking treatment when you started to lose hope?
Yeah, every days that end with why. It's a depression joke. And it's every day. Every day I felt like there wasn't any hope sometimes. And like, what do I have left? And feeling like there was no hope is what kind of drove me to that place. And that's why I want people to know that no matter how bad it might think or look right now, I'm begging you, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. And even if you think that's true, hold on. You got to hold on. And you can't imagine how much better it can get if you make the investment and the commitment to just hold that line and work to get better on that.
You can see my full interviews and a lot more at meetthepress.com. You can also get more Meet the Press here on NBC News Now every weekday at 4 p.m.
All right, Kristen Welker, we'll look for that. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.